Today is Saturday, May 28th, 2022. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the finale listener feedback show for Survivor 42.
And if somehow you showed up to this episode and you're saying, it's 3 days after the finale, what are you guys doing? What is going on? The season has completed. Are you this late to the party? And I say, no, it doesn't work that way at the Survivor Fans Podcast. Because we're here for the fans. We've got one last thing to do. It's important. It's part of our ceremony. It's closure. It's that bow, that ribbon on the end of everything.
That's right.
Yep. How many super fans showed up on what is a holiday weekend here in the States?
24.
24 super fans said, I got one more thing I want to share. I just want to be a part of the end. And we're here for you. We are absolutely here to wrap it all up. We're excited. It's sad. It's the end. It's an ending thing, but that's part of the ceremony. It has to conclude before we can move on to the next stage. Is there anything we need to cover before we dive into all these insights?
I do not believe so.
First up, we got a call from Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here. Wow, what an epic finale. I had no idea how it was going to pan out or who was going to win or if the right person was going to win, but I am satisfied. This was an awesome season despite all the twists and it only being 26 days. I'm going to let out a great big and fireworks, bam, bam, bam. Epic finale, guys. Lindsay, I called it. I had a feeling she was going to go with Final Five. I was mildly surprised that Marianne didn't give Lindsay the idol. But hearing her explanation, I guess I understand why. But the fire-making challenge, guys, I loved it. I loved that it came down to Jonathan and Mike there. I didn't really care who won. I kind of wanted Mike to win, and he did win. What an epic fire he had. Jonathan just fell a little short there, and I was glad Mike made it to the final three. I honestly thought Mike was going to win, and then Marianne as well I thought had a chance. But good on Romeo for winning that last challenge there, the JT challenge from Token Chains that Probst talked about. But still, I knew Romeo had an uphill climb. Even though I thought he did okay at Final Tribal, I had a feeling he was going to get the bagel votes, which I know everyone knew. But I think what hurt Mike, guys, he reminded me of Coach almost from South Pacific. He didn't own it much of his mistakes, how he played the game. I thought he handled himself well, but he didn't own it enough to earn the jury's respect. That being Mike. And Marianne, I thought similar. She stumbled in the beginning when they talked about the social aspect. They're like, I don't know if the jury's going to like Marianne's answers here and there. Omer, Jonathan, Drea, this and that. Even Chanel, I didn't know where they were going to vote. And a lot of them looked like Probst said, was going to vote for Mike. But I think what helped Marianne, she finished, it was her game 7, you could say, when she showed them that she had that secret idol and no one knew about it. To her credit, she showed them at the right time when it mattered. And also she orchestrated, well, she didn't really orchestrate the Omer vote. It was Jonathan and Mike that did it. But nevertheless, I give Marianne a lot of credit. She backed up her strategy. She showed she had the idol that no one knew about, and she knew when to make the right speech. She deserved to win, I think even more so than Erica did last season, to be honest with you. Much respect to Marianne and Mike. This is a great season, a great cast, and looking forward to season 43. And I read in Probst's interview with Dalton Ross. Looks like it's still going to be 26 days and no more reunion show. Gonna be now this after show, but it's entertainment nonetheless, guys. I'm enjoying it, guys. Epic season. Enjoy your summer, guys. See you in the fall. Woo!
Woo. All right. Thanks, Pete. Yeah, Probst is basically keeping it in lockstep with what he got here. So that's pretty much what he says to expect going forward. 2 different interviews, 2 different agencies, and he even, I don't know if he was joking, but he talked about potentially having this whole cast back, which they could save money and not have to pay casting anything. They could just invite these folks back to play again. I don't know where he was going with that. I think he was just saying it was such a good cast, essentially. But
Yeah.
I read it and
It's
went,
true.
"What are you doing? Don't do that."
I think the cast made the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if you go back and listen to the Jabbick, not that we got any of this part right, we were talking about how important it was going to be, how pivotal this was going to be for this season, and like Pete was saying, the cast delivered, and that was definitely the case.
So I think at least we've seen that it can be a decent season with all the gimmicks and
In spite of.
all the gimmicks with a good cast.
Yes, and that's what we said at the beginning. We were hopeful that might happen, and sure enough, this group really delivered. It was interesting because several of them were slated to be on season 41. It wasn't just Lindsay. It was 3 or 4 others, I think, were also in that group. So thank you, COVID, for holding Lindsay back so that she could be here in this group and giving us all these moments.
See, something positive out of something not so positive.
Yeah, definitely not so positive, yeah. All right, next up, we got a call from Christiana.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Christiana from Massachusetts calling in with my thoughts for the finale. It's been a while. I've been super busy, but I wanted to get feedback in for this last episode. Starting from the top, number 1, I thought Jonathan was so much more pleasant after he ate and got his reward. So maybe he was just really hangry in the second half of the season, because I really thought his personality switched from being like super respectful, super reserved, to talking over people and not listening and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, a guy like him just gotta eat. I understand. I thought this finale was just so good. There's a little something for everybody, like you all were saying in the recap. Romeo, such a great win. I teared up. A good redemption arc for him, always hanging on, down but not out. And it must really be like mentally very challenging to be the person that it's like, oh, let's just throw some votes on Romeo just in case, like he was saying, and to be consistently struggling in the challenges, even though the challenge, we know, at least at this phase of Survivor, is just one aspect of the game. I mean, it stinks to be the loser or the one in the back of the pack all the time. So I feel for those types of players. So I thought it's great that he got a win. I thought it was hilarious that Mike didn't tell anyone if he can or can't make fire. Smart. I wonder if more people will do that in the future. And then speaking of Mike, I feel like people, the players, did not acknowledge him as a huge winner threat when all season I've been thinking, everyone loves this guy. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to win if he gets the end, kind of what Drea said. And he gets the final 4 and they're like, oh, someone's got to take him out in fire. Did you all not think about this? Were you distracted by the other threats? Or alternatively, I mean, I am very partial to this cast. I think they were great and it made a great season, much better than 41. And did they just leave too many threats in the game that kind of snuck by, where by 5, it was like there was really no great options. If you took someone out, you were still leaving someone in who was a threat. And it ended up being truly anybody's game. I really liked the jury vignettes, although I do miss Ponderosa videos. And I had an interesting thought about when Drea said, I can't just give someone money because I like them. Inherently, for a long time in Survivor, that is what was happening. And I think in this Survivor quote-unquote 2.0, where people respect the game and it's all about the gameplay versus personalities, I think if that has been true the whole series, then Russell Hantz would have won Samoa and possibly Heroes versus Villains. So it's just interesting how the game has evolved to people being like, I would rather give it to someone who's earned it that I don't care for than like my best friend who kind of skated by. Overall, in terms of the finale, I didn't think Mike really owned his game, and I think the reality is he is just a good guy who meant what he said when he said it and had just made too many promises he couldn't keep, and so he couldn't articulate his strategy, because I don't personally really think he had a super strong strategy outside of building true, genuine relationships, and I think he did. I don't think that was for the game. And I thought Marianne owned her game great and explained it, and that is why she won. Gotta wrap up. I hope everyone is well. Take care and have a great summer. Bye.
Thanks, Christiana.
I wonder if they didn't say a whole lot about the whole Omar lying to Mike.
Mm-hmm.
They said a little bit, didn't you realize, blah, blah. But they didn't really touch on it much more than that.
They didn't show us.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yes.
I think it was edited out, and I wonder why. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about that.
He didn't, in the end up getting the votes. So I think that really swayed what they chose to show and not show.
It always does. So.
Yes.
But I still would have liked to have had an extra clip or something to show a little more of that exchange.
Yeah, it would have been like a proper after show that got a whole hour. That would be the kind of content you would want them to dig into.
Yeah.
A proper reunion. Not that I think what they're doing in terms of giving time to the actual episode and taking that 30 minutes from their reunion show or whatever it ends up being, 15 or 20, is good. Because we need more to see what's going on. But if you did a proper reunion show, not what these are, then those would be the kind of things to really dissect. Thanks again, Christiana. Next up, we got a call from Robert.
Hey, Joanne, Stacy, and Survivor fans. This is Robert from Canada calling in with my listener feedback. What a finale. There's so much to discuss, I'm unsure of where to even start, but I'll start with how I made out on some of my predictions. And spoiler alert, it did not go very well. I did predict that if Marianne made it to the finale, that she would indeed win, but I didn't think she'd get there. I had Jonathan losing the first challenge going out, and Lindsay winning the next challenge, taking Romeo to the finale, and Marianne losing to Mike and Fire. I got points for Romeo and Mike's positions, but nothing else. Fortunately, in the side challenge, I don't have to sing, so it was a close call. I agree with you, Stacey. The immunity challenges really made this episode, especially since they didn't go how anyone was predicting. Like, seriously, who predicted Romeo winning the last immunity? Mike's performance in the first immunity challenge was amazing. I think in these final days, he played nearly a perfect game, and I say nearly because I think he could have performed a bit better at Final Tribal Council, but still, he won immunity in what was a grueling challenge at 57 years old, and he beat the best firemaker in the game to earn his spot in the finale. Romeo impressed me in this episode as well, earning his spot in the finale instead of just being brought there, and I'm happy that this game affected him in positive ways in real life despite falling short of winning. And now our Season 42 winner, Marianne. She played a great game, and in my opinion, it just got better the longer she lasted. To me, her game-winning move was truly not playing her idol for Lindsay and also keeping it secret. I knew when she finally revealed her idol at Tribal that any chance of Mike winning went up in smoke. My evaluation on the season as a whole was that it was really good, and I think the fact it was such an enjoyable season despite so many changes and twists that many of us fans don't care for is a testament to how good the cast was. So here's some of my other thoughts. The 26 days, I'm not a fan. I feel like we missed a lot in the shortened season. For the final Tribal and reunion right after, I'm not a fan. It just makes me feel bad for the runners-up. And we miss getting to see the contestants look all fancy and gives them time to process what happened. The final Tribal format, I kind of miss when the jurors each got to ask their own questions. I know it's been a while since that. Hourglass, not a fan. Shot in the dark, I'm kind of indifferent. And the do or die twist, I'm not a fan either. And definitely starving, I'm not a fan at all. We get more exciting challenges when the players are fed. Anyway, I can't wait to hear what all the other fans have to say, and I'll miss hearing all of your voices in the off-season. So take care, everyone.
Thanks, Robert.
Robert made me think of Jeff saying that he wished the first 7 people voted off could have been there. And I thought,
isn't that completely within your power?
It seems insincere.
Yeah.
Since why couldn't they be there?
Yes.
You know, you had to do something with them. Sometimes they send them away on a trip, but with COVID, they're probably just there somewhere. So I don't see why they couldn't have been there.
Is that true? I think they may have sent them back early.
Because
I think I saw something about that. Yeah, because of the COVID part.
Well, they've never done that before that I'm aware of.
Right. Pre-pandemic, they basically take them on a big vacation, but it seems like they could have planned for that so that they could be there. But in any case, I'm with you. There's definitely some interesting insights to be gained. I've only looked at the Dalton Ross interviews. Of course, there's a whole slew of them out there you can go dig into if you're still hungry for more. One thing with regards to that last challenge that Romeo won, Jonathan said in the practice round he was managing all 6 balls with no problem. He reckons that just was brain fog that got him when he looked right when he should have been looking left and lost it, and therefore Romeo ends up winning.
Maybe the practice one made him too confident
Perhaps.
because he did so well.
I really enjoyed reading the Romeo one too because of hearing all the responses, like his distributed family that he was concerned about, not knowing, and then knowing, and they called him and said, yeah, we love you. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. We love you. So he got some of that.
Oh,
which
awesome.
Yeah, and then he got people.
Now that's a success story.
Yes. And then he got people from all around the world contacting him saying, I can't live my life openly. Like someone in Iran, he said, which he didn't even know there were people there watching, had reached out to him and said, thank you. I loved getting to see the representation and all that kind. So he had some really great feedback from people around the world. That was cool to read about.
Awesome.
And what else? Another one. I'll try to remember some more as we go through the final tribal council. Marianne said she really wasn't sure how it was going, and she had been looking for an opportunity to mention about holding the idol. And she felt like Jeff was beginning to wrap up when she got that opportunity to sort of drop that out there, and she wasn't sure how things were going. So that was interesting too. There's other bits and pieces in there. Good deal. Thanks, Robert. Next up, we got an email from Ed in Milwaukee. Joanne and Stacy, congratulations to Marianne and her brilliant performance in the final tribal. For most of the game, Marianne was a lovable and entertaining sideshow. That's a good description. She has a motor mouth, and for most of the game, she espoused what was sometimes ditzy babble, but at Final Tribal, she channeled her energy and emotions into brilliant and cohesive arguments that would have won over the Supreme Court, let alone the Survivor jury. She won this game because of her performance at the Final Tribal. She had well-prepared answers for almost every question that was presented to her. The last time that I saw a Final Tribal performance that was even half as good was when Sophie won Survivor South Pacific. Her play, or non-play, of the immunity idol was one of the best idol moves in Survivor history. Mike thought he could score points by gifting an idol to show support for the supposedly weaker Marianne, but her move showed that she got to the final on her own strength. She also showed how her brains overcame her emotions in explaining that her heart wanted to give the idol to Lindsay, but her brain told her that that would hurt her chances to win. I did not have a season-long favorite, and no time could I have predicted a winner. This is why I don't play JSFL. But there were times that I cheered for a particular player for one episode. Going into the final episode, I would have been content with anyone winning except Romeo, but as the episode went on, I started cheering more and more for Marianne. The hardest part of the game for someone with Marianne's energy was probably not keeping the secret that she had an immunity idol, but rather keeping the secret for all these months that she had won Survivor. Romeo tried to use his fake idol in his immunity challenge win to show that he had prowess, but it was not convincing. Other players admitted that they had no intention of voting Romeo out of the game, and in regard to the immunity challenge win, there are multiple types of immunity challenges. There are challenges that require a physical skill such as strength, stamina, endurance, or balance. There are challenges that require a mental skill such as puzzle solving, and there are carnival games. Carnival games do not favor a particular body type and put the competitors on equal footing, although there have been contestants such as Keith Nail who were consistently good at carnival games. This particular final challenge could have been won by anyone. In the episode, they showed clips of individual jury members explaining what factors they were looking for in selecting a winner. Some viewers thought that this was a great new twist to the game, but us superfans know that this was a staple of Ponderosa videos. Please bring back Ponderosa videos. We now have back-to-back winners from the province of Ontario. Will Ontario replace California as the land of Survivor winners? It is a shame that Survivor waited 20 years to invite our neighbors from the north to play Survivor. Finally, under the category of useless observations, I think back to Jeff Kent complaining in Survivor Philippines about taxes that must be paid on Survivor earnings. Now that we had 2 Canadian winners, I wonder what the final tax bite is for Canadian winners. I assume that Uncle Sam and the Canadian government both get a stake in the cash. Regardless of taxes, I'm sure that Marianne is happy to pocket what is left. Thanks, Ed. Well, as it turns out, according to what we learned from America, no, they don't pay any taxes at all. So, and it's obviously more in Canadian that they end up with. It's like 1.5 Canadian, or of course that depends on the exchange rate.
Over $1 million there.
Yeah. So quite the deal. Yes, I've been mulling that very question over. Should we invite our neighbors to the north to play more? I wonder. We're going to have some more thoughts on that as we go through here. Next up, we got a call from Nora.
Hi, Stacey and Joanne. Here's Nora up in Canada. So we have 2 Toronto players winning back-to-back the first year Canada's admitted in. And I hate doing that because national bragging is right next door to, something dangerous. So I apologize for mentioning it. But, so here's my little criticism about Marianne. I mean, Jonathan worked incredibly hard physically in this game, and he provided fish for everyone. He provided wood, and he did all this stuff, and he was a really, really nice guy. But I did not appreciate Marianne trying a fake Me Too thing with Mike about Jonathan. Here's the facts. Jonathan once spoke like this to Marianne. Your next vote is going to be like this. And it was that's a little harsh, right? So Marianne runs around and tells people, oh my God, he hurt my feelings by speaking harshly to me and telling me how to vote. This was about 4 episodes ago. So, oh my God, how? Whoa, Jonathan, that must be a crime against how you relate to women. Guess what? Marianne did exactly that on 2 different occasions, okay? So she's fake Me Tooing Jonathan, going, he spoke to a woman, me, like that, saying, this is how you're going to vote. Guess what? Marianne does that herself twice. She turned once to Romeo in the Omar vote off and went, listen, you're going to vote exactly like this. And then she went to Mike and did the same thing. Listen, this is how we're going to vote. So I bring this up because Survivor was faced with a real Me Too moment a couple of seasons ago with that Hollywood agent. And I thought they handled it really responsibly. She could have brought charges. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is I don't appreciate Marianne pulling out the argument when it came time when she's talking to Mike and saying, well, Jonathan treats women. She treats people exactly the same way of Jonathan's accusation. Just thought I'd say that. I had a wonderful season. Absolutely adored the whole thing. And yeah, it was all good.
Okay. Thanks, Nora. It took a twist at the end there, didn't it? All right, next up, we got a call from Nicola.
Hi, Survivor family. This is Nicola from Lexington. It's been a long time no talk. I was hoping I would have Jackson on here today, but he has not watched much this season just because of his schedule and my schedule. And we had planned on watching the finale together because it was his last day of school, so he didn't have to get up the next day. And then plague finally hit our house, and I got COVID. So I was in quarantine, and we could not watch together. And he was tired from the last few days at school, so he hasn't even seen it yet. I've been kind of on and off all season. Watched most episodes. I skipped some, but I have listened to all the feedback and all of your wonderful recap episodes, Joanne and Stacey. So yeah, I didn't do too bad. Didn't quite crack 100 in the JSFL. I had a couple of good weeks, some bad weeks. I did get the winner and second place. I thought it was a great season overall, apart from the stupid throwback time thing, which I'm sure now that people have seen it, they will make sure to send somebody from their own tribe. They should. Yeah, it was a good season. It was a lot of fun. I was happy with the outcome, and I hope to hear all your voices. Maybe I'll be more enthused next season. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I've certainly fallen off the Survivor wagon just a little bit. Somebody grab me and pull me back up. It's always lovely to hear your voices. I hope everybody enjoys the break. Thanks again, Joanne and Stacey, for all that you do for our lovely little community here. And you guys have a great summer. We'll talk to you on the other side. Cheers.
Cheers, Nicola.
And get well soon.
Yeah. And we'll look forward to having you join us in the fall. Next up, we got a call from Boother.
Hello, Joanne and Stacey, and all you Survivor fans. This is Boother calling in. Wow, what a great finale. And this was a terrific season. Everyone on the cast was fantastic. Season 42, to me, was about long shots coming from behind the pack to win, just like at the Kentucky Derby. Who would have thought that Mike on the first immunity challenge would beat Lindsay on the puzzle, especially with the advantage Lindsay had. And who would have guessed that Romeo would win the final immunity challenge to get into the finals? And finally, how many picked Marianne to win back at Jabik at the beginning of the season? I went back and it appears that only 4 people picked Marianne to win from the beginning. Well, my favorites evolved during the season to include Drea, Omer, Mike, and Jonathan. Drea, with all her advantages, I thought for sure she'd get to the final 3 and most likely win. Omer played both sides of alliances and was a strategic whisperer. Mike, he was friends with everyone until he had to stab them in the back. And Jonathan, he had a servant's heart, and he was a big food provider. If they didn't have food, he was going to stick around. But if they had provided food during the whole contest, I'm sure he would have been voted out very early. Now, for the winner, Marianne. I agree with you, Stacy. It seemed that she only started to play on day 23. Who would know that the idol Lindsay didn't find would be so crucial to the jury's vote? Marianne, with her giant smile and goofiness, disarmed the rest of her tribe. Her ending strategies were brilliant, and she deserves her victory. Congratulations. And congratulations and thank you, Mr. Stacy and Miss Joanne, for all the work you do to put on this show. I know I appreciate it, and many, many more people do too. Thanks again. And by the way, this was one of my favorite seasons. So again, thanks. Looking forward to what everyone else has to say. Bye.
Thanks, Boother.
That was a nice twist.
Yeah, like that. Next up, we got an email from Mary in Maryland.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy. This is my first time submitting feedback, and hopefully I'm getting it in just in time. Well, welcome, Mary. I've listened to your podcast for the past few Survivor seasons, and I have to say it brings so much more to the whole Survivor experience. I've watched this show since season 1, and adding your recaps and listener feedback show and JSFL to my week makes it so much more than just a show to enjoy on Wednesday nights. I really do feel like it's a Survivor family, as so many of your listeners like to say. That was especially valuable during the worst of the COVID restrictions, to have more connectedness with people all over the world around a shared interest. That's true. Now, on to my thoughts about the finale. After getting nearly every single weekly vote-off pick incorrectly in JSFL
We know that feeling.
and doing abysmally the entire season, somehow I chose the correct Final 5 order.
All right.
And the winner. It was a fun surprise to see it all unfold in the order I had guessed, but in some surprising ways. Lindsay ended up being a great competitor, and I enjoyed watching her play. I still don't understand why she didn't play her expiring immunity idol for Omar, but overall she was a pleasure to watch, and I'd be happy to see her back on another season. I was happy for Romeo winning the Samotion, was that it? Samotion challenge. That was an exciting one to watch, with such unexpected results.
Yeah.
It was great to see his success at the challenge and to see him have some real power in the game of choosing who goes to fire making. I'm happy for the personal growth he had during the game as well. The fake community idol and playing it at tribal council was pretty lame, although I appreciate him trying to make a move. On to Jonathan. I never was as enamored with him as everyone else seemed to be. Challenge beasts just aren't as impressive to me as strategic game players and amazing social gamers. But the last few episodes really lowered my opinion of him. I know hunger and killer fatigue was getting to him, but the condescending way he was shown speaking to Lindsay, Drea, and others several times just did it for me. I think going out on fire making against Mike was a fitting end, and he went out gracefully. Not so much to say about Mike. I found him likable enough. I'm sure he's a great guy in real life and made some good moves in the game, although He was easily led at times by other players. Mary Ann, funny enough, I had her as first out of the game after the Jabbick episode.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
I thought her extreme bubbliness and self admitted non stop talking would have her voted out ASAP. It was great to see her story arc and personal evolution over the course of the game. I enjoyed seeing more layers of her come through as time went by and to see her use smart communication and strategic moves. And hallelujah, she had an idol and didn't tell anyone about it. Never seems to happen, so kudos to her for keeping it to herself into the final tribal. Overall, I really enjoyed the season. All the extra advantages, twists, amulets, and crazy idols, for the most part, came to nothing, and I could do without them. Even the regular immunity idols were rarely played. I begged the producers to cut back on all this craziness, as it doesn't add much to the game, and it makes it difficult to keep track of who has what and when and how it can be played. I'm sure the players, in their sleep-deprived, hungry state, have trouble keeping track of it all too. If you have a great cast and challenges, they bring plenty of drama and excitement without the shot in the dark, turn back time, and other nonsense. I'll miss you all over the next few months, but we will be filling in with Australian Survivor in the meantime. It is really well done, and while not an equal substitute for the full Survivor experience for me, it'll help fill in the time until we're all back together for season 43. All right, thanks, Mary. Next up, we have a call from Chris.
Hi, Joanne, Stacy. It's Chris from Minneapolis calling. Overall, just enjoyed the season. I don't think it was a top 10 by any means, but good season. I love the cast. I thought the cast was just phenomenal. They completely nailed that. I thought too many advantages. I think that's something they have to take a look at. From what I've been listening with you, it sounds like they're not going to do that. It sounds like they're going to keep that going, but I just think that really puts too much into chance, and you're not always going to get the best winners at the end. I would say that as far as the final three, definitely a little disappointed with that. I think given who we had at the final three, I think Mike had the best resume, and it wasn't even close. I don't really buy that the jury didn't have their mind made up. I thought that the bar was much higher to clear for Mike than for Mary Ann. When Mary Ann has ally who says, I don't really know what you did until the very end, I just don't know that that's a winner. You know, Mike was a really good social player. He made moves. He was a physical threat. He won challenges. He just didn't do a good job of articulating all of that at the end, and I think he was severely punished for that. And Mary Ann's big move, I just didn't see it as a big move. I thought she articulated it very well, though. And so, I felt bad for Mike because I thought he was clearly the best winner. I think he was a little conflicted because I think he's a good guy, and I think he does consider himself an honorable person. And then I think in his headspace, he had a hard time trying to tell the jury what was going on with him. So that part, I felt bad for him, because I think that Survivor does put you in positions that you make decisions that you wouldn't normally make in the real world, and Mike just couldn't sort through that, unfortunately. I think the last thing that I would say is curious about your thoughts about the edit that Jonathan got, because, in years past, Ozzy and Malcolm and some of these guys that were just challenge beasts and just great players as far as the game of Survivor, that's maybe not with the strategy and all that. I think Jonathan is clearly way up there, but I personally felt like they went out of their way to kind of knock him down a few pegs, and it just was curious to me. They just made him look like a misogynist. They made him look kind of dumb and with his strategy, and it just felt like they kind of went out of their way to do that, and I'm just not really sure. Curious what other people thought about that. So, but overall, thanks for everything. Love the podcast, and thanks. Look forward to hearing what other people have to say. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Chris. Well, the immediate thing that popped into my head when you asked that, and you were talking about Malcolm and Joe and those guys was Malcolm when we were talking to him. You remember the first time we were talking to him?
No. We talked to Malcolm a lot.
Yeah, we were talking to him, and he said, I was so surprised that they didn't show more of my negative moments, because at times I worked really hard at being kind of villainous.
Oh, no, he flat out said he wanted them to make him at least a little bit of a villain. And he said, I gave them plenty of material to work with.
Yeah.
And they didn't use it. It just shocked him that they made him look so sweet and just showed one side and didn't show any of the other stuff that he consciously gave them.
Yes. To be in that space. So I guess it varies with their goals for the overall season, because certainly they showed us the moments. I don't know how they could not show us the moments, but how overwhelming Jonathan was in the tribal challenges. Even in that the Final Five challenge, when he was just blowing by Lindsay, he was untying 6 knots and going over the obstacles on hand and foot, and he was barefoot. He was the only one that was barefoot for the whole thing. So he was such a dominant physical presence, and then they showed that he wasn't at that same level strategically. He wasn't at that same level, say, with communication skills. So I like that you got to see different sides of him, where he came up short, where he excelled, where he went to a whole nother level. I mean, when you look at the whole season here, this is a season that brought legends in Survivor, in the history of the game, because Jonathan's performance, Omer's social game, oh my goodness, that in terms of his performance, the fact that we didn't see the goat rodeo, that Jonathan failed, Romeo succeeded, and he took himself there, and he didn't get any votes.
I don't think we've ever seen a goat that everybody discounted.
We were sure he was a goat.
Totally discounted him. And come back and go, okay. Well,
he got himself there.
Nobody
took him.
Nope.
He wasn't selected to sit there and get 0 votes. He got 0 votes, but he got himself there.
Yep.
And
that earns points.
And
in my
Mike,
book.
easy to discount Mike, older, not really seeing it, and
he gets to the final 3.
Here's another fireman in the final 3. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, great players, some just other really good. No one has ever held as many advantages at one time as Drea. There's just lots of things where you can go back at this season and show like how High managed himself with the go to rocks, the game of chicken, and the early tribal council, and some of the other strategic moves.
Have chosen Marianne in the beginning. I thought
we didn't. We said she was no merch.
As chatty as she is, she's going to annoy people. They are going to vote her out of there. Did not see that at all. And actually, the person who won JSFL did choose her from the beginning.
Yeah, from the drop. So there you go. Yeah, it isn't always as fulfilling. These last 2 winners can challenge you, because you want it to be exciting and under the radar game. If that's what those people have, if that's what they can manage in terms of their win. And in this one, it was even more so that Mike couldn't show up and say the things that he needed for himself, but Marianne could. The bar was lower and it was a less visible game. Didn't have to do as much to get there, but then you show up at the right time and you deliver and you win. So
I thought it was great. It was exciting for me.
In terms of seeing another way, seeing that pattern, it isn't as dynamic and exciting all the way through the season. You're not building to some like super moment, but to see someone with the tools to pull it out in the end, to read the room, which I think was super critical, still have that wherewithal to read the room and play just the right notes to win. It's like it didn't feel like it was a song to me, but it was like a chorus and some portions of the melody that really resonated that she hit, and it turns out that's how high the bar was, and she got over it.
And she was able to show how she saw the defects in the game she was playing and changed it mid-game, and
Maybe,
could
yeah.
self-correct.
Yes. Yep.
And her own personal growth of allowing herself to put herself in a position to win. I thought that was all amazing. Okay, shall we move on to what someone else thinks?
Yeah. Next up, we got a call from Kyle.
Hey, Joanne and Stacey and all the Survivor fans at home. This is Kyle from Calgary, Canada, home of the last 2 Survivor winners. Phoning in for some feedback for the season finale of season 42. Now, I have been MIA as of late, and I apologize for that. I have been watching the episodes, I've been listening to the recaps and the listener feedback, which I really enjoyed, but I just didn't really feel like calling in would cover much more ground than what the other super fans have provided us. So I do appreciate it. I really do. I think it's such a good accompaniment to the season, and I hope you guys never stop. So thanks so much. Now, the season in general, I thought was really, really interesting because they basically took season 41 and they mirrored it with season 42, and they got a different result. We got maybe what's arguably a better season, and maybe you can account for a different cast, which a lot of this falls on the cast's shoulders. Maybe they edited it in a different way where more people could be happy and not see some of the social dynamics that upset some other people in the past. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. I was happy with it. So there you go. This particular season finale I thought was pretty fun. Pretty exciting and pretty surprising at times. I mean, I was very surprised that Mike was able to pull off an immunity when he did. Who knew he could do a circle puzzle? I don't think he even knew that. And who knew Romeo had the ability to win that immunity when he did? So good for him. He came up when he needed to. Now, Marianne as a winner, I'll welcome that all day long. I think that she was super fun, really charming on TV, and not a typical winner, which I think is interesting. And I wonder if it has something to do with the days that they're out there, and I suppose the same could be said about Erica as well, is that you've got this opportunity to be out there for a shorter period of time. Maybe they play the game a little bit harder in that earlier time, and they don't suffer from the long-term effects of a really longer season. It's really hard to say, and I don't think we'll know for a little while until they go back to regular Survivor, if they do that at all. Anyway, that's it for me. I am looking forward to next season. What I'm not looking forward to is that I'm losing my Survivor watching buddy. My daughter is actually attending university in Hawaii for the fall and winter semester of next year, so we won't be able to watch together anymore. I suppose we probably could, but the time difference might be too great for her or me to try to watch it. So maybe we'll talk about it, but honestly, I think she's going to be too busy with her athletics and academic studies, so maybe I'll just have to fill her in at Christmas time. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks again for all you do. It is so appreciated, and I hope everyone has a fantastic summer, and maybe we'll talk to you in the fall. All right, thanks, bye.
Thanks, Kyle. Next up, we got a call from Sophie-n-Leila.
Hi, Survivor fans. Hi, Joanne and Stacey. Thank you for all that you do, Joanne and Stacey. It's been fun listening to everybody this season, and it's been a great cast. I only got the final 3 good in order, and I'm glad that Marianne won. I should have gone with my own advice to pick a winner who has the biggest smile, because I remember Wendell had like a really big smiley face. He smiled when he spoke, and I should have just gone with my instinct to choose Marianne as the winner, because even though she was young, she made it, and I'm fine with it. Me and the whole family actually watched it around midnight, so we were all falling asleep. We just got to Marianne won, and then we just couldn't last any longer, so we need to watch the whole episode again, the tribal council, to hear who had the best arguments, because I really can't remember much. But it was a good season, don't you think, Leila?
Yeah, I want to go back and rewatch it to listen to all of their arguments and how they responded. I definitely didn't think Romeo would win. I'm surprised he won the challenge.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, it looks really fun, but challenging. I thought it was either Mike or Marianne who deserved to win it, so.
Okay. And Jonathan, what if he had won?
I don't know. I didn't really want Jonathan to win.
He was a bit too macho in the end?
A little bit.
Okay, so it was good that a girl won, I think. Yeah?
Yeah.
And hopefully she can help her family out and
But I kind of wanted Mike to win because I really liked how he was very social with all the other players. He was open to listening to about their family, their religion, and everything. And I was surprised that he took time to take an interest.
Hopefully he doesn't take it too badly, but he still gets money being final 2, I think, so that's good. He gets something. And, okay, so I heard that somebody from El Paso is going to be playing next season. Do I choose somebody from where we live, or do I just go with I don't know. I guess I need to see everybody else, but should I cheer on somebody from here or somebody not? I guess we have to just wait, yeah?
No, people here are annoying.
Okay, yeah, we don't really want to live in El Paso, so let's not cheer on anybody. Okay, yeah, somebody warned me about living in El Paso when I moved from England, and they said it was the armpit of America. Well, yeah, it isn't the nicest place. It's not sweaty, though. It's not humid, so it is dry heat. It is a lot better than anywhere else in Texas, I think. Houston's just awful and humid. But it's okay, right? The good thing about living in El Paso is anywhere else you go, it's just... you're going to have a great time, a nice experience, and see beautiful places.
That's not a good thing to tell people.
Okay, well, we're stuck here. But anyway, take care. Hope everybody else is happy, and all the best. Bye.
Okay, stuck in El Paso. We hope you have a nice summer, and we look forward to hearing you again in the fall. Thanks, Sophie. Thanks, Leila. Next up, we got an email from Shahin in Australia. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. What a great season we had. It had twists and turns, and certainly the edit better reflected why the winner came to be. Coming out of season 41, I felt a bit confused, not just with the horrible production and the edit presented to us fans, but also the little care Jeff and company seemed to have. And you both pointed out Jeff has stated in the past that we're free to tweet at him, but he will not respond or care in the slightest, and I interpreted that somewhat to how Survivor intended to go forward. It has to a certain extent. For one, I'm very sure I've realized who the monster is. Heads up, it's Jeff himself. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. The production team resuscitated the game for me, so kudos to them. However, I wish the Final 5 wasn't so predictable. I'm almost sure all of us in JSFL got the winning order or got 3 out of 5 with the 4th and the 5th order swapped. If we were to judge the game in its entirety, I'd say Mike was a deserving winner. However, the game is always active and recency bias will always be prevalent in the minds of a jury. No one will remember the moves you made earlier if you don't continue to play as hard. However, the biggest indictment is on how he presented his case to the jury. Survivor has gone on for 20 years, so forgive my memory, but is that the worst performance we have ever seen at a jury presentation for the final? I'd say absolutely not. No. Not even close. Amanda, yeah, definitely go back and look at both of poor Amanda's. I cannot remember seeing someone have the win in their grasp and then throwing it into the tall grass, never to be seen again. Okay, you definitely got to go watch the Amanda seasons. Please tell me if both of you know any worse. I'd be curious to know, not including Russell Hantz, definitely. I think we got that one covered for now, but there are others too. This is definitely not the first time someone has failed to deliver in terms of what the jury wanted. And sometimes you can't control that, too, like we talked about. There's a huge Lil kind of thing going on.
Lil, yeah.
If you bang the honesty integrity drum and you get caught, then you're done. Your goose is cooked.
That's it.
I don't want it to detract from our winner and Marianne. She activated at the right time, and her presence of mind and perception of the game state was astute. She made the right in-game moves, and sometimes it's enough to captivate a jury. I have a funny feeling her and Erica had similar runs in how they ended their game strategically. However, the edit was so poor for Erica that we will never truly understand the win. Conversely to Mike, she had an amazing performance at the final, and I'm going to say if both hers and Mike's final performances were to be in columns, her win was in part to a bit of column A and a bit of column B, factored in with a touch of recency bias. I'm not a fan of how the game is adjudicated. Ooh, I like that word, even though I struggled to say it at first. Social, strategic, and physical as categories are so moot when no one cares about the physical aspect of how you played the game. A revision would be a better spectacle for me, or at least removing the physical aspect. I understand physicality is a part of the game, but it's certainly never going to be a reason why a winner wins. The game is almost solely played on the strategic and social level. Dalton Ross updated his rankings and put this in the middle, and I totally agree. If the powers and twist were removed, then I think the game would have been for the better. Get rid of the goofy phrase idle, the hourglass, and do or die, and you have yourself a better game. Thanks for all you do. It's been great to write in this season, listen to all the superfans' feedback, and hopefully my busy schedule will clear up to voice in more for season 43. Cheers. Thanks, Shahin. We look forward to that. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanna and Stacy, it's David in Pittsburgh. Usually, before I send in my thoughts, I watch Survivor for a second time. But I didn't have time to do it this time. We're getting ready to go off for a wedding in California, and I better start packing because we're leaving Saturday morning. So I'm just going to send you my thoughts on season 42 of Survivor. I've seen a lot of comments online that people like season 42 much better than 41. I don't quite agree. I think there are pros and cons for both seasons. I thought that the shorter season of 26 days and starting off with 3 tribes and all the twists and turns were really interesting. But I thought the last season, 41, it was all original, so it was much more exciting, and I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. This season was a repeat. Now, the plus about that was I really enjoyed seeing how different things played out, even though, for example, the knowledge of power played out the same both seasons, and the hourglass played the same in both seasons, but there were differences in a gameplay with beware advantages this season over the last season. I really enjoyed seeing that. People have often said that they like this cast better than last season. I don't agree. I like both casts. Last season, we got a lot of original characters: Brad, JD, Jeannie, Nazir, Evie, Xander, the teaming up Shan and Ricard. So I just really felt that both. I love the diversity of the seasons, and I love the cast on both seasons. What I'm not crazy about is the after show. I really like it when they have the reunion 6 months or a year later. First, because things have happened in the contestants' lives. I like to catch up with them. What they do when it's right after the winner is announced is it's pretty much a recap of what we've already seen. And listen, Joanna and Stacy, you do a better job of recap than they do on the show. So I don't need that after reunion telling me what I already just saw. And in the end, I was happy with the winner. I was pleased with all the twists and turns, upending our expectations. It was a good season. So thank you, John and Stacy, for this podcast, your dedication to it, and keeping this group together. And now I will see you guys in September. Bye.
Thanks, David. Next up, we got a call from Cameron.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor fans. This is Cameron from North Carolina calling in with the finale listeners' feedback. So one thought I had on the whole was that it was interesting how this season shook out in that no one who made the end, in my opinion, was nearly one of the best players of the jury. Lindsay, in my opinion, was the one I really thought would win toward the end. I had her as my JSFL pick to win it all. I was really upset. I had Mike as my USB. I came so close on that front to actually landing that pick. And honestly, the edit really made it seem like he was going to win for a bit. But I agree with what Joanne was saying last week, where the momentum just toward the end really shifted in Marianne's favor. Regarding her as a winner, I'll say objectively, I'm very happy that a black woman has finally won the game after 20 years when Vesipio won in Marquesas. For the sake of representation, that's really great. On the whole, as a Survivor fan, I wouldn't call her one of the strongest winners for sure. Her resume at the end was kind of lacking in my opinion. Of course, the Omer vote out was very big, and that helped her a lot. Otherwise, she would have been a total GOAT. But the thing she kept pressing on about the idol, in my opinion, it's like, on Survivor, you're kind of supposed to keep an idol a secret, Back in the day of hidden immunity idols, people would tell maybe one person, but it wasn't like I have to earn loyalty by exposing my idol to everyone else. So it was cool for her to keep that secret, but I wouldn't say that's the biggest game-winning move, of course, and it didn't seem like she had much else outside of that. But when it came to the finale itself, as a student of divinity, she wants to be a preacher, I can assume. her public speaking came in so clutch for her there at the very end, because Mike just did not put on as much of a show as she did, and she was able to just be as energetic and enthusiastic as she could to get the jury on her side fully. Even if she didn't have much to say, she'd say as much as she could to make it sound like even more. So I really applaud her on that front. It was kind of reminiscent of Cochran and Caramoan when he just owned the final tribal council to get all the votes. So I'm happy for her for sure. This season on the whole was a lot better than previous seasons when it came to casting. I'd say this is probably my favorite cast we've had since David versus Goliath. Even like last season, when it came to who you wanted to win the most, it was like, yeah, Ricard's playing the best game, but on most other given seasons, someone like Ricard would not be in my favorite category of the players there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this season, you had a lot of game players.
Yes.
I would love to see Drea return in the future. I would love to see Lindsay, Omer, even someone like Jonathan. I thought he was very fun to watch. He's got to be one of the biggest competition beasts in Survivor history, if not the biggest one. But overall, it was a great season. I'm very happy with the outcome, not necessarily of who won, but just the fact that the season was so good made me very excited. Hats off to CBS for the casting this year. I look forward to those future seasons there in Fiji, and I hope everyone else is doing well. I'll catch you all next season, guys.
Thanks, Cameron. Yeah, definitely. It was amazing seeing Lindsay often go toe-to-toe with Jonathan. Those made for great face-offs between the two of them. I'd love to see her come back and play. There's going to be a lot of this cast that comes back.
I think so, too.
That may not be in the same season together, but they're going to be... Look at all that. You've got that menu you've got to cherry pick from in terms of people to come back in all sorts of different facets.
Well, and I have to give it to Jonathan and Lindsay for there being 4 Taku people in the final 6.
Yeah, staggering. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, good stuff. Thanks, Cameron. Next up, we got a call from Kim.
Hi, everybody. This is Kim from North Carolina calling in with the finale feedback. And I'm going to have to echo what I know Pete says, which is woohoo. This was a great season. I really, really enjoyed it. What a charming cast. I agree with Stacy that the unexpected winners of the challenges definitely added to the excitement of the finale, which I knew would happen, but I can't believe I got the final 3 correct, even though I had Mike as my USB 24. I'm happy for Romeo that he got some success out of the very end of the game, but the fake idol play did not impress. I'm okay with Marianne being the winner, but I would like to point out that probably the only reason why Marianne made it this far in the game is because Jonathan won all of those challenges for their tribe. I wonder if Jonathan had made it to the final 3 and he had thought to make that argument to the jury that maybe he would have gotten some votes off of that. Mike's game was, in my opinion, a little bit harder than Marianne's, but of course there are so many variables, like who does Omer decide to team up with, and that probably brought Mike further along or saved him for a while. There are just so many ways that a person can have success and also have failure, especially in the new world of do or die and turn back time. Blech. I don't really like what Jeff thinks is exciting. Marianne was amazing with her words during Tribal Council. I was really proud of Mike at the part where he said, maybe I didn't have as much integrity as I thought. And I think everyone who thinks they play with integrity has to come to that realization, but he actually managed to do it during the final tribal. I think they all seem like nice people, and I hope they have long friendships, and I will always remember this as a fun season. Thanks, everybody. Take care, Joanne and Stacy. Survivor love to everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Kim. Next up, we got an email from Jack in California.
This was an excellent season, and I loved watching this cast compete. I can totally see quite a few of these cast members return in a future season. Romeo did surprise me a little bit during the last episode, since he made a fake idol and then surprisingly won the last immunity challenge of the season. For the final advantage clue, I'm not surprised that Lindsay was the one who solved the riddle and found the last advantage of the season, and what an advantage that was. It was quite a shame that the advantage didn't really do much in the end. I'm happy for Mike for winning the first immunity/reward challenge, and I'm not sure why, but I'm quite surprised that he chose Jonathan to join him for the feast. When it comes to the second immunity challenge, I feel like that was the fastest ever version of that challenge, and I do feel sorry for Mike and Marianne for not doing so great in it. What I am not surprised with is that Romeo took Marianne to the final tribal, and Mike's fire-making inferno was quite impressive. Congrats to Marianne. She did really well with the cross-examination questions at the end, and with this final three, I'm happy with this result. I would put this season near the top. It was a lot better than 41 for me. I hope you all have a great summer and that 43 will be just as good as this one.
Hear, hear.
All right. Thanks, Jack. Up next, we have a call from Rebecca.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Rebecca calling with final feedback for season 42. And what a great final it was. I enjoyed watching it so much, and not only because I called the final five in the exact order. I was convinced Lindsay was going to go out fifth because I thought she had maneuvered herself out of any possibility of anybody carrying her any more forward. And I always think it's weird when a player gets so fixated on one other player and kind of loses sight of the long game. Jonathan bothers her so much more than she bothered him. And coming back from tribal council and being like, why did you do that, Jonathan? And he's just calm going, because you've turned against me and you voted for me. It's a game. Lindsay, you're playing against Jonathan. You can't ask him why he's defending himself. I thought that Jonathan would then go out fourth. I don't know. I just felt like that was as far as he was going to go, and he was going to lose the fire-making challenge. I did not see Romeo winning a challenge, though. I thought it would be Marianne winning the challenge and putting Mike and Jonathan against each other. I saw Romeo as third, no votes. I saw Mike as second, and I saw Marianne as the winner. And I was just so psyched while I was watching that that's how it played out. And then I went to look at my final score for JFSL, and somehow when I put them in, I mixed up Mike and Romeo, and I got 0 points for both. So my final score was only an 82 and not 102 as I anticipated. But I was firmly in the middle. I don't have to sing any song, and I'm just really going to miss the podcast. I'm going to miss the camaraderie on the Facebook group. I'm going to miss Survivor. I know we'll all be back after the summer. Great ending, super satisfying, and it's just really interesting how you watch all the big guns fight and fight and fight, and then you got one quiet, hammy little girl who slips under the radar and walks away with it at the end. Sometimes playing under the radar goes a long way. Thank you guys so much. A great season. Gonna miss everybody. And everyone have a fantastic summer. I'll see you in the fall.
Thanks, Rebecca.
You know, I think one thing that happens with people who play an under the radar game a lot of times is they are not able to really get the jury to believe that they were really playing hard. Mm-hmm. And because the jury hasn't seen it, and that's so ingrained in their brains, sometimes I think people that play that way lose because the jury's like, nah, I'm sorry, I can't take that in.
How can I reward what I don't know?
Yeah. And that they either don't believe them or they just don't have enough time to process that before they vote.
Sure. Yeah, that's natural. You don't give me enough information and whatever. But Marianne certainly delivered on that front. She had something for them, and they were hungry for it. Thanks again, Rebecca. Next up, we got a call from Rashmi.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy, and all my Survivor friends. Thank you, Joanne and Stacy, for another fun podcast season. So, Survivor is over, and it went off on a high with a likable and just winner. I think Marianne is crazy annoying, but she killed the final tribal council and took the win. Actually, Marianne got lucky that the alliance of Hai, Omar, and Rhea fell apart so soon. Therefore, it gave all the goats a fighting chance. But I'm a little bit disappointed by a very weak final three. Only if Omar hadn't jumped the gun too soon, then we might have had a better final three. Omar should never have gotten rid of Hai so soon. So this is one of those rare seasons where there are a lot of deserving winners. Jonathan, Lindsay, Drea, Mike, Omar, Hai, and even Marianne were all more than deserving. Romeo was the only one who really didn't seem to belong. He, however, did earn his spot in the final three, but then he was going to be dragged there anyway. Now, why did Romeo bother to make the fake idol if he wasn't going to show it to the other finalists? Showing it to the jury and then saying it's fake is nothing. You show it off to other finalists to try and convince them, like others have done in the past, where they pretend to be hunting and walking around with a stone in their pocket or whatever. The final challenge was also quite ho-hum in my opinion. I would have liked to see a more complicated and epic challenge that really tests the contestants. For $1 million, it could have been a bit more intricate. This season, and there was no tight alliance, and I think this is because of the crazy twists and advantages that were planted by the producers to make the show more interesting, but they didn't succeed at it. A couple of idols and advantages that the players have to really earn, not with idols hanging in front of their faces. Now, this manipulation by the producers and then Jeff breaking the fourth wall is just all wrong. So far, this has been one of the strongest casts. There are a lot of players I wouldn't mind seeing again. Omar, my USB, was definitely my favorite. He was strategic, funny, and humble. He played without a vote initially and then without an idol or any advantages. However, we have now got to know that he had got this one advantage which then became his downfall. In my books, he's one of those great players never to have won, and I hope to see him again. Thank you, Survivor family, for all your good messages and wishes on this new phase of my life as a grandma, or as I will be known as a dadi now. So, looking forward to season 43. Everybody keep well, keep safe, and see you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, Rashmi. And he did show the other castaways the fake idol.
Romeo.
Yeah. In the interview, in Romeo's interview, he talked about how Mike wanted to see it, and so he had to actually scramble to make it, because I think he said he had it before he had it ready to share, that he didn't have it on him. He had it hidden, so he had to go get it. And then, so he scrambled to go get it, and then he handed it to Mike and looked at it. So he said it looked like Mike's, except his had a blue bead where Mike's had a green bead, and Mike seemed to believe him. So there's some back and forth in the interviews. No one believed he really had an idol, but Romeo's got a case for he might have convinced some people enough, and that he did share it with them. Thanks again, Rashmi. Next up, we got a call from Noelle.
Hi, everyone. It's Noelle calling from Albuquerque, and I loved the finale. I loved season 42. I was so happy that Mike took Jonathan to the reward, because it was really hard seeing Jonathan get left behind for every single reward. I was so happy that Romeo won the final immunity challenge, and he was able to say that he didn't get dragged to the end. I was so happy for him for that, and I was so over the moon that Marianne won the season. She 100% deserved it. She played a great game, and it's so nice to finally have a second Black woman winner. It's been 20 years since the last time, and the sepia was completely marginalized in future seasons, and it's just so nice finally to see it happen again, even though it took way too long, and it feels good. Although I think I'm going to have to say that we should not let Canadians play Survivor anymore. Sorry, Canadian friends, but they are just playing Survivor on a whole other level, and us Americans clearly just can't even keep up. So I think they need their own Survivor, and they can play on that one, because they're just on a whole other level and we can't compete. And I heard that Canadians don't have to pay taxes on prize money too. So wow, that's amazing. Wow. The reunion show, I thought, went a lot more smoothly. Oh, I wanted to say that I thought that this was the best final tribal we've ever had. They really went into every aspect of the game, and we finally get a sense of how long those actually take. It really felt like we got a good picture of what actually happened at Tribal Council. Going into the final tribal, I was still guessing about what was going to happen. It seemed like they might be setting up for a Mike win. I really didn't know what was going to happen, so I really like how they edited it to make it hard to figure out how it was going to go. Jonathan's tunic reminds me of Andre the Giant from Princess Bride. I've been thinking that all season. Oh, here's what I'm forgetting. Part of me wanted to see the firefighter win. The entire time that the show was airing, we had a huge fire right in the middle of the city, burning all night. And after ordering some evacuations, they finally got it contained. I think it's contained now. And basically our whole state is burning down right now, and it's really sad. And so part of me did want to see the firefighter win. But again, I'm very happy with how everything turned out. It's going to be a fun summer. If you guys didn't see Big Brother Canada number 10, again, the Canadian players are just on a whole other level. I think they had probably one of the best winners ever. Check that out over the summer if you're bored. And can't wait to talk to you guys all and hear your voices again in the fall. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Noelle. I think we're on to them now, though, Noelle. We know what's going on with those sneaky Canadians and their abouts and their A's and the Great White North. So
we just moved to Canada so
we'll be able to handle them from here on out.
People can play and not worry about taxes, and maybe some of that'll rub off.
There you go. There's another angle too. Next up, we got an email from Josh the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, what a season. Given the final 5, I'm very satisfied with the way things turned out. Here are my other observations. Which did you focus on? The lovely twilight Fijian beach view or Jeff's monologue? Definitely the view. I think Jonathan and Lindsay should see Tori for couples counseling. That's perfect. Yeah, you can look up some definitions in the dictionary, too. Kula Kula's new beach got 0 stars on TripAdvisor. Yes, so tiny, too. There's one overhead shot. We were just rewatching portions of the finale before we sat down to record. Of
course we were.
Yeah, and you see that island is so small. Like his fake idol, Romeo's game went up in flames. Simo, wasn't he one of the Marx brothers? Mike is a man of his word. Unfortunately, the word is lie. Marianne got confused during the word scramble. She thought that she was the mole. Work it against them, yeah. Whoever wrote the advantage giant toe clue must have failed anatomy class. I agree with you 100%. That was goofy, and it wasn't in the toes. We were looking at that. It was just like all wrong. So she eventually thought it was there and ran around and saw it lower down. It was definitely not in the toes. So that was annoying. Yes, I agree. Fail anatomy class. Finishing the top of the round puzzle first makes it sag and harder to fill in. Indeed, you could see that in both of theirs. Lindsay dropping a plank in the challenge caused her to walk the plank later. And yep, Jonathan being the first to start the puzzle is like a snail being the first to start a race. Yeah, that was it was exciting, and then it was just sad. Season 42's sign had a maze. Why didn't we get a maze challenge this season? 3 guesses. If the first 2 don't say budget cut, you're not quite there yet. Cream rises to the top on Survivor. That puts it in the way of the pond scum. Oh, jeez. For the only time this season, Romeo didn't drop the ball. Jeff gets snippy at challenges. Does he go without food and sleep for 26 days too? Jonathan, the tribe has spoken. If you play with fire, you might get burned. Romeo won his way into the final 3. Does that make him a self-hurting goat? I guess that's another twist. Fireman Mike's new favorite movie, The Towering Inferno. Romeo's strength was being weak. That's so zen. Jeff says Survivor has 3 stages. He makes it sound like a Saturn V rocket launch. I'm with Marianne. Gutting and scaling fish should get you the $1 million. Survivor can be ageist, but I never thought the under 25s were the victims. When Marianne finished stating her final 6 logic, I expected a mic drop. Jonathan, I don't think they hid the $1 million check in the voting booth. Yeah, that was weird. He was looking around. I guess he was just taking it all in one last time. But he did have that moment. No matter how Omer spins it, comparing someone to a loud, babbling parrot with toddler-level smarts isn't exactly a compliment. Yeah, he didn't seem to recover from that too well. The monster's hungry. That's why they got so many pizzas for the after party. Mike. Guess what day it is? Thump day. Woot woot. Instead of hump day. Yeah.
Got it.
The camel commercial, was that Geico? Yeah. Romeo didn't get $1 million, but he did get all-you-can-eat pizza at the after party. Anyway, that's it from me for this season. Thanks, Joanna and Stacy, for all you do. I can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Have a great summer, everybody. See you in the fall. Thanks, Josh. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Jody.
Hey, Survivor fans. Hi, Joanne and Stacey. It's Jody. This season, life has gotten squarely in the way of me participating to the point where I had no USB. I didn't have picks in for the first 2 weeks, and I've come in on only 37 points to the finale, and then, holy moly, got like 1, 2, and 3 spots correct. I had Lindsay and Jonathan around the wrong way. But like the most exciting thing about this season is I beat Stacey in JSFL. I'm just going to roll around in those feelings for a little while because it's a comfortable place to be. Anyway, I just loved this cast. Thought they were really good. I loved Marianne's summary of herself at the end and just being able to succinctly lay out her gameplay. Tell Lindsay, yeah, my heart was with you, but my head said no. I could never beat you, and I need to put myself first, and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty tops, yeah. So I didn't even really mind some of the asides that Jeff had for us this time around. It's fine. It's not getting super cringy. I'm really enjoying the last tribal and like just read it all where we are. We don't need this big production with 8-year-olds like vying for their time on Survivor, their opinions or whatever. This is good. I like it. And if it keeps Survivor on the telly because they don't have to spend as much money doing whatever, that's fine too. All right, I'm done. I'm out. Well done to everyone. This season was another great one. I love listening to all the other guys and everything that they have to say, even though I'm not finding time myself. I really appreciate the effort that you guys put in. Okay, so I'll see you for 43 and just keep safe, everyone over there. The news that has come out of the US this week has just been incredibly upsetting, and I hope you're all doing great. Okay, bye. Bye.
Thanks, Jody. While you're rolling around and celebrating in all those high-scoring feels, I'd like to invite you to come join me once again in the side challenge for season 43. I think you'll find it so much more enjoyable your second time, third time around. So I'm looking forward to us facing off in 43. Thanks, Jody. Next up, we got a call from Jill.
Hey, Joanne, Stacey. Hi, Survivor fans. Jill in the Outback here. I thought that was a really good end to the season. Good on Marianne. She really came good at the pointy end of the season, and she didn't do too much earlier in the season. I think Mike did have a claim to the sole survivor, but he just relied on his social game. He didn't really have too many big moves, and Marianne just had the gift of the gab through the final tribal there. She talked everyone into it. I love the challenges in the final episode. I just always want to have a go at them myself. They really did all stuff up the last challenge with the balls on the ramps. I love watching that one, but obviously 26 days of very little food and sleep is going to make that one a bit tricky. I think I'll keep this short and sweet, guys. I've left it pretty late to put my feedback in. Sorry about that, Stacey. But thank you so much for providing the podcast for us and giving us the feedback show, and everyone that contributes to the feedback show. You've changed my opinion on more than one occasion through the years. Anyway, I will look forward to hearing from everybody again in season 43. Happy days, everyone. Bye.
Happy days, Jill. Thanks. Hope your husband's recovery is still on track and doing great. Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi everyone, this is Jen in California. Well, I think this was a great finale to cap off a great season, and I think it was a very good winner. I would have been happy with Mike or Marianne winning, and for the first time ever, I got the final 5 absolutely correct. I nearly broke 100. I got right there at 99, darn it. But anyway, it's probably my best showing in JSFL ever, which made me very happy. But like I said, I would have been fine with Mike or Marianne winning. But Mike, you could tell he just wasn't on point for the final tribal council. And even if he did play the better game, he was not giving the better argument. Marianne was so prepared. And I disagree with you a little bit, Stacey, that she really started playing on day 23. I think she was playing the game the whole time, but kind of in the same vein as Romeo, who just was stuck playing the game on the bottom. She was young and having less life experience than most of the other players, if not all the other players. It really made it difficult for her to get a foothold as a leader. So she did have to play under the radar a little bit, or a lot actually.
Yeah.
And she did the very best she could. And what was even more important is during the tribal council, she was able to articulate that.
Yes.
And regarding her hidden immunity idol, I feel like the big weight of that was not so much that she could show the jury that she had it and didn't tell anyone, but it was the fact that she showed them that she had it and that she didn't have to play it because she had manipulated Mike into playing his on her. That was a huge strategic move on her part. She didn't need him to play that on her, but she was able to show what control she had by making that happen. Anyway, I was very pessimistic on this season coming off of last season, but I really, really enjoyed it. And despite all of Probe's shenanigans and twisty twists that he wants to put in there, I'm really looking forward to season 43, and I can't wait to be back together with all of you when that occurs. Thank you, Joanne and Stacey, for providing us with this awesome community. I enjoy every minute of the time I spend with you all and listening to all of your comments and feedbacks and sharing our love of Survivor. Until the next Jabik, bye.
Thanks, Jen.
You know, one thing with Marianne, too, I think you're not taking into account is her sharing with the jury that her observation that all the young people that showed any strategic ability were being voted off one after the other. And that she needed to show a certain image to them to play a little under the radar and not let them see strategy. Even though she's thinking, she's like, I couldn't show that or I was going to be another under 25 that was out of the game.
She's such a big...
Yes, she did.
She's such a big beneficiary of the Taku tribe, though.
That's true. There's no doubting that.
And she did contribute to that, to some work with the puzzle. She played a part. I think it was a minor part, but definitely she got to play a role there. And then she's exactly the type of player you got to watch out for, because certain players will disappear in the merge, and she had the benefit of disappearing. So yeah, she didn't get to be a part of the alliance calling the shots. But
well, I think that's what she was saying, though. That was deliberate on her part, because she did not want to be seen as having any strategic abilities.
She does mention that, exactly what you're talking about in the interviews, that she had that sense, because she had said something strategic, and then it got back around to her that she had said something strategic, and so she made the conscious choice to turtle up. So
there you go.
Yes, I agree. There is that.
Okay, you agree. Let's hear from Paul. Why you still
Moving
agree?
on? Yeah, okay. No clarification, no extra details. Let's check in with Paul.
Hey, Paul, Louisiana here, and for the record, I listed the final 5 in the correct order in my last feedback, but did I go with it? No, because Stacey said I might want to rethink Jonathan losing the fire-making challenge, so I swapped Lindsay and Jonathan's positions, and look where it got me.
Oh, my
Thanks,
goodness.
Stacey. But seriously, I think I would have spotted that on my own eventually, so no harm, no foul. Sometimes I need people to point out the obvious for me, and that's why I'm here. So then, briefly, and first off, I've got to say that slight advantage was huge. Slight? I do not think the word means what they think it means. It didn't matter, though, because Jonathan just tore through those knots. But not to win. He did it so he could have the best seat in the house to watch Mike win. And poor Lindsay. Jonathan blew past her in the advantage, effortlessly even. and then sits back and still gets the food reward. Oh, and yeah, I believe Marianne figured out that puzzle. She just wanted Lindsay to get the advantage. But also, that was no giant. Talk about an obscure clue. So I wonder if in hindsight, Lindsay regrets how she acted. The whole, you didn't know that I would vote against you when you left me out of the loop, so you broke our alliance thing was, well, it kind of changed my opinion of her. Then again, I do understand her frustration, but boy, was she milking it. And honestly, when answering Lindsay's question about why she was left out of the loop, Jonathan just should have said, for the same reason you voted for me and didn't let me know. But you know, my big question with Jonathan is, how did he treat women so badly? I really need to know because I really didn't see too much in the edit. And generally, if you give the editors ammo, they're going to use it. Even Lindsay's final edit shows that. Was it real or just misplaced anger at him? I mean, we saw that happen earlier in the game when race was thought to be the motivating factor for the vote-offs. A lack of food and sleep can really nudge the mind into paranoia. But I'm not saying that it couldn't have happened, just that it's odd that it wasn't shown or even featured. But I'm still shocked that Jonathan couldn't make fire faster than Mike, especially after watching he and Mike practice. I guess it all came down to performance anxiety, huh? Okay, so, am I happy with the season? Yes, I enjoyed seeing Survivor last season, especially after not seeing it for so long, but even then I knew that 41 was not only different, but definitely lacking. This season made up for that, though, and shows something that I hope that Jeff and the producers can both see. That it's not the number of twists and idols that make a season good, it's the cast. Yeah. You need people who want to play the game, people who want to win the game. Further proof of that is seeing how Romeo was the weakest link. He wasn't there to win. And yes, Marianne played her hidden idol perfectly. Joanne, I was just like you wondering why she didn't play it, but that just shows how she outplayed us, because she turned an unused idol into essentially an ace up her sleeve. Yeah. And I'm glad Marianne won, but I'm also sorry that Mike didn't win, because I feel he was playing more throughout the game. Playing the high road never ends well, but I feel he did a fairly good job in trying to keep his honesty in check. You just have to know when you go out there that it's an impossible mission, and to not tell people that that was your strategy, because it's actually a losing strategy.
Yes.
Omar was a fun player, but should he ever return, he'll never be able to repeat what he accomplished in 42. He's essentially been outed. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Drea, Lindsay, Hai, or Jonathan return. Maybe even Mike, for that matter. Like I said, we had a great cast of characters, and these were the players that shone the brightest. Shone, shined, whatever. So congrats on the win, Marianne. In the end, I'm happy and actually proud of her accomplishment. And thank you, Joanne and Stacy. I wouldn't do a season of Survivor without the two of you. And that goes for everyone who participates in the feedback shows also. And of course, thanks Steve for making the JSFL so easy for Joanne to track and everyone else to play. In short, everyone here rules, and I cannot wait until September to do it all over again. Everyone enjoy the summer. Bye now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Now you can add whatever it was you were going to add if you had something to add.
What was I going to say? Lindsay appears to me, at least in the interview, is bitter.
Well, I thought she was bitter in the finale.
But I'm saying even the interview that I think that they just did. Yeah, she even calls Jonathan a misogynist.
Yeah,
so
I'm not
she's
seeing
saying
that.
Well, like Paul pointed out, we didn't get that.
Yeah.
And she was pretty hurt that things didn't go her way. And
she seems so angry, and that I felt like before the end, she was just so angry and competitive, and every little win Jonathan got just inflamed her that much more.
It's hard to be on her side when she was responding that way. We don't know what all she was dealing with.
No, we don't.
And we probably never will. Jonathan, for his part in the interview, said that he was sorry to hear that, and that he had celebrated all the things they were doing every time he got the opportunity, and he hoped they would recognize that at some point. So
and if
so
not,
many people
it's like
we were talking about. It's like we were talking about before. People use that word, and I don't think they know the definition. And I didn't see that about him, and I'm not gonna give it too much credence unless Drea says it or someone else. I just don't see it.
Well, Marianne was talking about how he treated women.
But Marianne,
she was listening
people,
to Lindsay, and she
yeah.
thought he was talking down to her as well, and he could have been, but we didn't get to see. We saw some of it, we did, but not to call him a misogynist. I don't think that.
People
that
could
plays
disagree with you,
into-
or you could have trouble communicating with them, and it could have nothing to do with your gender.
Exactly.
It's just, hey, we aren't communicating.
Well, and
Doesn't mean I hate
she's-
you.
She's so little, and Jonathan is so big, and she
could be
wanted to
triggering.
beat him so bad. Yes, it
'Cause
felt
she's
like
so
there's
alpha.
more being triggered. There was too much emotion in it. That
don't
usually
know.
means there's an issue.
Yeah.
At least in my experience. So, even with myself, if I care that much about something, then it's time to examine it. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you just go,
Yeah.
that's one opinion.
I'll make sure to have links to those, at least the 5 interviews, so you can get a flavor of everyone if you want. That's in the show notes. And is there anything else to say? We've already talked about how much we enjoyed it. Is there anything you want to add, or any new insights you
think
got
so.
through the listener feedback show?
I'm still looking forward to, Survivor, even though there's things that I don't like about, all the twists and stuff. But it's still Survivor, and I see now with a good cast, it can be a good season, even with
Can
the
overcome
other stuff.
the
Yes.
production
Yes.
bungles.
Interference.
Yes. The bungled budget mess that sometimes it looks like it
That's
is.
your term.
The, yeah.
Budget Survivor.
Yeah, that's what this feels like for sure. And it's, well, we're going to track that way for a little while. But that doesn't mean you got to get bummed out, because look at what a great cast can do. And all these
right.
smart players and how things happened here. So even look at the final 3. You got someone in their 20s, someone in their 30s, someone in their 50s. How that split out. And then
Well-
from the one from each tribe.
And we didn't really talk about that there was
Yeah.
one person from each of the tribes in the finale.
Yeah.
Which is
so cool.
kind of amazing.
Yeah. Didn't see that one coming for sure.
And one of the taco people,
Taco.
thanks, Paul. Taco people won.
Uh-huh.
But,
Just not the one we thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that
Or
too
of
can
the
be
2
good.
we thought, Omer and
Right,
Lindsay.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Good
So-
feeling. Enjoyed the overall season. I don't do rankings, so that's pretty much a wrap for me. You got anything else?
I want to say a big thanks to everybody who took time to contribute here over the season and here with the final episode, sharing your final thoughts and helping us see how you observe things, how you called it, how it played out for you rather, and everybody who contributed to the feedback shows all season long. You guys make Survivor even more fun. Joanne and I had spent years talking, believe it or not, like this about episodes, rehashing things until the next one came on before we started the podcast back in 2005.
Stacey heard of a podcast.
Yes.
And said, hey, we should do that. And I'm like, oh, what?
And our enjoyment grew exponentially because you come and join us. We're over here in our own little niche in the podcast world. I don't know that anyone...
Cuddled up, arm in arm on the love seat.
I meant us and the bigger
Oh,
Survivor
okay.
fans, not just you and me.
Oh, okay. I was,
But you're all here on the
You're
love
so
seat with us.
warm.
Yes. Yeah, you can come cuddle up. I'll keep you warm. You're on the SFP love seat. So, you guys make it fun. You help us see things from different angles because you share your own experience from your walk in life, and we look forward to that and getting together and share. So we've come to that end again, but we want to say that big thank you to everybody who helped amp up our enjoyment and help us see things and learn and grow as a part of it. And thank you for all that. We want to say a huge thanks to Jill and Nicola for your donations. We appreciate your support. Have to always acknowledge the phenomena that is Steve for creating and maintaining the JSFL website.
Absolutely.
And allowed us to grow it beyond
Couldn't do it without him, for sure.
beyond the Excel spreadsheet. We appreciate all your hard work, Steve. Thank you so much for making that possible. We want to say big thanks to Paul for creating the logo, as well as the awesome roster. We use that. It's on our screen right now. I
can't imagine doing Survivor without it.
Yeah, we couldn't keep up with everything without it, for sure. Yep, it really helps us and keep tabs on what's going on. Thank you to Jeremiah for overseeing and shepherding the flock in the SFP Fans Facebook group.
Okay, and I wanted to, again, congratulate Dan Sparks in Washington State for winning JSFL this season, and to Laurel in North Carolina for winning first in the side challenge. Laurel has chosen How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith for Parker, who was in the bottom of the side challenge. Parker will create and sing a parody based on Survivor 42 using Laurel's song choice. Parker, please send your creation to us before the Jabbick Show Part 2 for Season 43 or as soon as you're done with it. We look forward to hearing what you come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
We are at the end. We hope you enjoy your summer, and we'll see you back here in the fall for Season 43.